right, we'll unmute that. We'll give it another second. We'll wait for a few more people to come in and then we'll get going. Thanks all for being here. Really appreciate it. This is our fourth live stream. And previously, for our last live stream, we did a live streaming tour of MIGTech, our elections facility, and we went over the entire elections process. We did tape that one, and so if you weren't able to watch that, then you can watch that online. Give me one second. Okay, we'll get going here in just another minute, and then we'll talk about the Goodyear election. We'll talk about voter list maintenance, and we'll take any questions that you have regarding any of those topics, or really anything related to the recorder's office, which of course will be recording of public documents, voter registration records, and election administration. My name is Stephen Richer. I'm the Maricopa County Recorder. I surmise that you all probably knew as much because you found your way to this live stream through either our Twitter channel, our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, or through my personal Twitter channel. All right, we're going to add this to the stage right here with our PowerPoint presentation. So we're going to pull that up and we're going to get going here. So today is another election day. So happy election day, especially happy election day to all of those Goodyear residents out there. For those of you who don't know, we have been administering an election in Goodyear for the past month, and today it comes to a close. So what does that mean for you if you are a Goodyear voter? That means that you have just a few more hours for you to drop off your ballot. Now, this was a all-mail election, meaning that every single eligible voter received a ballot by mail, and every single voter received a ballot by mail. And if you have a ballot by mail, but you need a new ballot by mail, then you can show up to the location at the Goodyear City Hall. You can get a replacement ballot and you can vote it there and you can put it there. However, you can also drop it off at our central facility at MIGTech. It must be dropped off by 7 p.m. on election night, which is tonight. Okay, I appreciate your patience with me while I get this going. Thank you. All right. As mentioned, today's election day in Goodyear, 7 p.m. Get your ballot back to us by then. You can either drop it off at Goodyear City Hall or you can drop it off at our central facility at MIGTech. Just get it in that drop box before 7 p.m. If you have any questions, reach out to our office. You can find us either online or you can find us you can give us a call. You can also go to locations.maricopa.vote if you need to see where those two locations are. In terms of the number of ballots we've received back, we've already received back approximately 13,000 ballot packets. And those ballot packets, of course, have to be signature verified. They have to be processed by a bipartisan team, and they have to be examined and audited before being sent ahead to tabulation. All right. Now, we've had a number of questions regarding voter registration and voter list maintenance over the past few weeks. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. This is a very important part of the election process, just because the voter list is, of course, the skeleton upon which an election is built. Now, we have about 2.4 million registered voters in Maricopa County. We are the second largest voting jurisdiction in the United States, and we make up about 62% of the voting population of the state of Arizona. So lots of people are moving here on a daily basis. Lots of people are moving where they live within the county on a daily basis. Of course, people move out of state, people move in state, people change their party, people change their names, people die, and all of those things must be processed by our office. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what goes into voter list maintenance? How can we make sure that the rolls are clean, and we'll talk about that as well. But before we get to that, what are the requirements for being a registered voter in Arizona? So there are just a few, but you must be a United States citizen. You must be 18 years of age at the time of the election. Now, you can register before you turn 18, but you must be 18 at the time of the election. You must be an Arizona resident. You must be registered 29 days before the election. So if you show up on election day and you say, I want to register to vote, I haven't registered to vote before, we will say, great, we'd love for you to fill out this voter registration form. However, you can't participate in this election. You would only be eligible to be able to participate in a future election because you must be an Arizona resident and you must be registered 29 days before the election. You cannot be a felon who hasn't had your rights restored, and you cannot be adjudicated an incapacitated person. So those are just the few basic requirements. Now, a lot of people ask about the proof of United States citizenship. So in 2004, Arizona voters passed Prop 200, and Prop 200 said that we here in Arizona want our voters to have to show documented proof of citizenship in order to be able to participate to vote. Now, for most people, that means either a birth certificate or that means their passport. And so this was the law for a number of years in Arizona until some voting rights groups challenged this and said, we think that this is inconsistent with the National Voter Rights Act. And what the National Voter Rights Act, which is a federal law, held is that you just have to attest that you are a United States citizen, meaning that you have to say, under penalty of perjury, that you are a United States citizen. However, this created some tension between the state law and the federal law, where the federal law was that you had to attest, and the state law was that you had to show documented proof of citizenship in order to participate. So this was litigated for many years, and it eventually went up to the United States Supreme Court. And the United States Supreme Court said, yes, these two laws are in fact in conflict. However, Arizona can follow and abide by its own laws for all things with the exception of federal contest. And so that's what created what we call here in Arizona the bifurcated ballot. And that is a situation in which somebody, an Arizona voter, could have proven citizenship for the purpose of federal elections, meaning that they attested under penalty of law that they are a United States citizen, but they have yet to provide documented proof for the satisfaction of Arizona law, meaning they haven't provided a birth certificate or a passport or some other documentary proof of citizenship. In those instances, they would go into a federal only ballot. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how many federal only ballots do you have? How many federal only voters do you have in Maricopa County? I think when I last checked, there were about 8,000 active federal only voters in Maricopa County. So that means about 99.6, I think when I last calculated the percentage, 99.6% of active registered voters have proven with documentation their citizenship in order to be able to participate as a full voter in Maricopa County. The remaining 4% have said, yes, I am a United States citizen. Yes, I declare this under penalty of law. However, those people have not yet provided documented proof of citizenship. Now, who are those people? There hasn't been a full study done on this, but Jen Fifield of VoteBeat recently did a study that looks like those people are predominantly located around college campuses, which I suppose makes sense because maybe those are some people who have moved out of their parents' household, haven't necessarily gone to the motor vehicle division, and don't have easy access maybe to their birth certificate or to their passport. Now, if you participate in an election and it turns out that you are not a United States citizen, meaning that you lied on that attestation for the federal only ballot, then that is a felony that can be prosecuted and of course can result in a very serious situation if you are somebody here as not a United States citizen. So that's a little bit on Arizona's sort of bifurcated ballot, which is a curious creature and is different from many other states. But again, important part to remember is 99.6% of registered voters in Maricopa County have proven citizenship through either a birth certificate or through a passport. Now, in terms of list maintenance, which I touched on briefly before, this is very important because this is, again, the skeleton upon which we are framing an entire election. You cannot vote in Maricopa County. You cannot vote in Arizona unless you are a registered voter. We cannot take a ballot unless it comes from a registered voter. We do not pick up ballots off of our doorstep and just enter them into the system or tabulate them. To get a ballot by mail, you must be a registered voter. To show up and get a ballot, if you show up at one of the voting locations, you must be a registered voter. So what do we do to make sure that our voter rolls are as clean as possible? Well, I'm very proud of all the effort that the voter registration team has put in over the last few years to make sure that our voter rolls are as accurate as possible. And here are some of the things that they do that are up on this screen. They, of course, process hundreds of forms every single day. Those are forms that we get through the Arizona Motor Vehicle Division through servicearizona.com. Those are paper forms that we get. We also use lots and lots of different databases and lists. We use the National Change of Address list from the USPS. We use lists regarding deceased people from Arizona Department of Vital Statistics. We use interstate mover lists from the ERIC reports. We use reports from the Social Security Administration. We use reports from the jury commissioner files. So if you are called for jury and you say that you're moved out of town, or if you're not a United States citizen, then we can move you off the jury rolls. We use reports from courts as to who is a felon. Remember, you can't be a registered voter if you are a felon who hasn't had your rights restored. We scan the obituaries on a daily basis. We scan every single major obituary in the state of Arizona. We take that information and we put it into our voter registration system. So again, this is some of the stuff that we do in order to have and as accurate as possible voter registration database. And again, I'm proud of the effort that the team has made over the past 3 years. We've actually gone from 2.6 million active registered voters to 2.4 million active registered voters over the last 3.5 years, despite being one of the fastest growing counties in the United States, in part because of the immense efforts of the voter registration team. Now, a lot of people say, well, my neighbor moved out of town. Well, I think this person died. Well, I suspect that that person doesn't really live there. We appreciate people writing into us, and we certainly are always happy to take information. But law, both state and federal law, carefully restricts the means by which we may eliminate someone from the voter registration database. And you can understand why this is. This is a very important right, and we wouldn't want anyone to be removed from the voter rolls willy-nilly. And you can imagine a situation in which somebody might have, I don't know, perverse incentives to try and kick somebody else off the voter rolls. Maybe it's a relationship that has gone south, and then you say simply, that person doesn't live there anymore. He should be removed from the voter registration rolls. So obviously we can't do that. Here are some other things that we cannot do under law. And so these are not reasons why we can move someone off the voter registration rolls. We've also been running a campaign because in addition to all the resources that we use, we appreciate your help. And so we've been really pushing people to check their own voter registration status at beballotready.vote. We've been running a campaign with funding from the state legislature to try and get the word out there so that more people take their own voter registration status into their own hands and do their own list maintenance. Here are some of the impressions that we've gotten as a result of this campaign. And again, this campaign has helped us keep our voter rolls in as good a shape as possible as we head into these incredibly important elections. Another thing that I wanted to touch on before we take questions are these 90-day notice cards. Now, these are very important because they help us do list maintenance. If any of these come back as undeliverable, then we can begin the inactive process, begin to move a voter to inactive status. They're also important because this is what allows us to make sure that we're sending our mail ballot packets to the right household. So if you get a 90-day notice card for somebody who has moved out of your house, please, please, please let us know so that we don't send a mail ballot packet to that household. Additionally, they serve a very important purpose for independents or party not declareds. So, as probably many of you know, approximately one third of registered voters in Maricopa County are registered as either party not declared or independent. Now, importantly, these people can participate in the July 30th primary, but they have to take an extra step. They have to let us know whether they want a Democratic Party ballot or they want a Republican ballot. And so if they do not take that extra step, then we will not be able to mail that voter a ballot by mail at the same time as we mail out all other ballots for voters who are on the active early voting list. Now, independents also have the option of showing up to a voting location 27 days before and showing up there and saying, I want a Republican ballot or I want a Democratic ballot. But if you're an independent voter who wants a ballot by mail, you want it to be mailed out 27 days before the election, just like you would during a general election, then you either need to return this 90-day notice card or you need to go online to request.maricopa.vote. That's request.maricopa.vote. Or you can call my office and you can let us know which party you prefer for this July 30th primary. Here are some important 2024 election dates. Now, we had the presidential preference election in the middle of March. As mentioned, we are on the last day of our Goodyear election. Again, please get your ballots back by 7 p.m. tonight. 7 p.m. tonight if you are participating in the Goodyear election. And again, we've had about 13,000 people who have returned their ballots back, and we expect some more today. And then importantly, we have the statewide primary on July 30th. Ballots go out on July 3rd. The last day to register is July 1st. So remember, you have to be registered 29 days before the election if you want to participate in it. So if you know anyone who isn't registered, and we have probably about 700,000 people in Maricopa County who are eligible, meaning that they're 18 years of age, they're United States citizens, they're not felons, but they are not registered to vote. So if you know anyone who's in that category, please encourage them to go to servicearizona.com before July 1 if they want to be able to vote in the statewide primary. And then, of course, we have the November 5th general election, and the same rules apply, where you have to be registered 29 days before the election, and ballots go out 27 days before election. We will also have voting locations that will be opening 27 days before. As many of you know, if you've watched past programs, the election administration responsibilities in Maricopa County are divided between the county recorder, me, and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors are getting those voting locations ready. They will have over 200 voting locations for these upcoming elections, and they will be phased in 27 days before each election. You can show up to any single one of those voting locations as long as you're a registered Maricopa County voter. You can show up to any in Maricopa County. Okay, I think, oh, there's a few more. Those are some of those dates that I referenced. I think that's it as far as our slide presentation. And so now we're going to turn to questions. Okay, so if you have your questions, feel free to write it in, and I'm going to pull them up. All right. Shara, thank you for your question, Shara. What is being done about the 60,000 plus registered voters who have moved out of Maricopa County? So I don't know exactly where you're getting that number from, Shara. Maybe you can comment or you can send us an email. But as mentioned, we're doing a lot to make sure that our voter rolls are in as good a shape as possible. Now, if you die, we receive paperwork from the Arizona Department of Vital Statistics. We receive paperwork from the Social Security Administration. If you move, however, there is no national voter registration database, meaning that as soon as you register in California, it doesn't automatically deregister you from registering in Arizona. Now, we have a couple of tools at our disposal. As mentioned, we use the National Change of Address reports from the United States Post Office. So if you're somebody who filled out that National Change of Address form when you moved, then we would get that and we would be able to move you to inactive status and we would be able to move you off the rolls here in Maricopa County. We also, of course, use the ERIC Interstate Mover Reports for those states that are part of ERIC, but we also rely on households and we rely on you. So if you are moving out of Maricopa County, please contact my office. That is something that we would like to process immediately. And then if we try to send you mail and it either comes back as undeliverable through the USPS, then we can begin to move you to inactive status. Or if it's sent to a household and that household gets it and you're no longer there, then they can check the box, put it back in the mail, and it can come back to us, and then we can move you to inactive status. So that's how we do list maintenance in terms of people who are moving out of Maricopa County. Now, if you're moving out of Maricopa County into another one of Arizona's 15 counties, so one of the other 14 counties, then we do have a statewide voter registration database, and that makes it a little easier to catch than if you move out of state. Remember, you must be registered in the county in which you hope to participate. It doesn't matter if you are if you're registered in Coconino County and you show up to vote in Maricopa County, you won't be able to vote. So it's important that you check your voter registration statistics. It's important that you check your voter registration profile rather, and you go to beballotready.vote. Okay. Next question. West Valley Jen, what is the cost of today's special election in Goodyear? That's a good question, Jen. I don't know that. So this is an election that is technically the domain of, not technically, it is the domain of Goodyear. And we are simply a contractor for the city of Goodyear. We administer this election. They provide the location, which is the Goodyear City Hall, and they provide the means. And so we are just an administrator. Now, they reimburse us up to a certain rate, and I haven't calculated out what that exact reimbursement rate is. We do send out a mail ballot to every single eligible voter in Goodyear, and that's about, I think it's about 50,000. I'm going to look at the statistics on that. We've sent out about 58,000 ballot packets so far for this Goodyear election. And then obviously that costs something. That costs like $1.25. And then when it's sent back, we get billed for the return postage. We're obviously also setting up a voting location with temporary workers. And then obviously we have some of the workers and processes back at our central facility. And so those are borne ultimately in part by the county and in part by Goodyear. Okay. Fred. All right. Fred asks, what about when one person, a son or daughter, leaves home to enter the workplace? So good question, Fred. If your kid has left your household, then they should fill out a new voter registration form. So send them to servicearizona.com, ask them to fill out a new voter registration form so that we can get their new address and we can send them their information there. Importantly, also, it might change what they're voting on. So if they move to a different city, obviously they're going to be voting on different stuff. But even if they just move a few blocks away, they might be voting on different stuff because they might fall into a different legislative district. They might fall into a different school district, so on and so forth. And so it's important, please, please, please have them fill out a new voter registration form such that they can update their voter registration information with the most accurate and current address. Okay, Fred has a follow-up question. If they file a change of address, is the entire family going to be removed from the rolls? So no, great question, but no, it is only going to affect the individual voter who fills out the voter registration form. So nothing affects an entire household. If, for instance, man and wife got divorced and one moved out of the house and he filled out a new voter registration form, it would not change the voter registration status for the occupant who stayed in the house. So it only affects the specific registered voter who fills out the voter registration form to change his or her address. Shara. All right, Sherigan. How long does it take for a voter who's moved to be removed from the voter list? So there's a couple ways in which I suppose it depends. If we get the national change of address form, then we can remove that voter right away. If, however, we get undeliverable mail, then we have to, by law, send a 35-day notice, meaning that one piece of undeliverable mail does not mean that you automatically move off the voter rolls. We send you another piece of mail to make sure, because there might have been an error in delivery. And after you receive that, and if you don't take action for 35 days, then we will move you to inactive status. If you have any other questions on that, please feel free to either put them in here or you can email us. All right. Anna Rose Lilly. Why has the Maricopa County site excluded the emergency voting days on the calendar? It now just says last day to vote early in person, July 26th, and then it says election day, July 30th. So Anna Rose, thank you for that. I'll take a look at some of the how we have that framed on the website. But according to Arizona law, the Saturday, Sunday, and Monday before Election Day, Tuesday, are reserved for emergency voting, meaning those days are just if you have an emergency. And so if you show up to a voting location on the Saturday, Sunday, or Monday before Election Day, Tuesday, you will be asked to sign an affidavit attesting to your emergency. Otherwise, I hope that you use one of the other 24 days of early voting or show up on election day. You can, of course, also return your ballot by mail if you've received a ballot by mail, and you can drop it off on any day, even if it is emergency voting day and you don't have an emergency. All right. Any other questions? Looks like we have any other questions. Let's see, we've got one right here. Okay, this is a question that I get a lot. I heard that voters can be removed from the voter registration rolls if they don't vote in an election. I am very concerned and want to know if this is true. So in 2021, the state legislature passed a bill and the governor signed it that changed the permanent early voting list to what we now call the active early voting list. And the permanent early voting list was what you were on if you wanted to always receive a ballot by mail. It works the same way now, except for the active early voting list. If you do not participate for 2 consecutive cycles, meaning 4 years. So this year you would sit out the July primary, you don't participate in the November general election, and then again in 2026, you don't participate in the July primary, you don't participate in the November general election, then you would not be removed from the voter rolls, but you would be removed from the active early voting list, meaning that for those elections in 2028, then we wouldn't automatically send you a ballot by mail, but you would not be removed from the voter rolls simply for not participating. That is not one of the methods by which we can remove you from the voter rolls. All right, looks like another question. Can a candidate for office work the polls for an election in which that person appears on the ballot? So it raises a good point, which is that we need people to join us as temporary election workers. We will hire up to 3,000 temporary election workers. Those people will work all manner of tasks, whether it's working at a voting location, whether it is working in our central facility, whether it's doing signature verification, whether it's doing ballot processing, whether it's driving a truck, whether it's helping in our warehouse. And the full list of those tasks is available at getinvolved.maricopa.vote. Getinvolved.maricopa.vote. These are paid positions. You'll be an employee of the county. You'll be required to sign an oath of office, and we need Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green Party members, Libertarians, no labels parties. So please come one, come all. Some positions are required to have a bipartisan relationship. Some positions require a registered Republican and a registered Democrat working together, but many positions allow for independents as well if you are an independent. Now, there are very few limitations on who can work those positions. Largely speaking, you just need to be a registered Arizona voter. You cannot, however, be on the ballot. So if you are on the ballot, you cannot be working a voting location. You cannot be handling ballots in our central facility. And that rule actually applies to me as well. So I will not be handling any live ballots. I will not be in the tabulation room because my name will be on the July 30th primary ballot. And so I will be subject to those same rules. And so I won't be working a voting location. I won't be doing ballot processing or any of the tasks that I actually really enjoy. But I'll have to sit this one out, as will any other candidate who is on the ballot for either the July primary or the November general election. Okay, we have reached our 30 minutes. Thank you to, we're up to like 633. Thank you for joining us on this fourth live stream. We'll keep these going. If you have any questions in the meantime, please write in to voterinfo@risc.maricopa.gov. That's voterinfo@risc.maricopa.gov. We'll also put up a little QR code here at the end that will link to a number of things, including our voter list maintenance efforts, including an ability to see the live stream tour that we did last time and other information. So thank you for joining us and have a wonderful Tuesday and happy election day, especially to those out in Goodyear. So we're going to go to banners, we're going to go to brand, and we're going to go to this. Hey Maricopa County, this is Stephen Richer, your county recorder. Today we're talking about voter list maintenance. Voter list maintenance is so important because the voter registration rolls are the foundation upon which a good election is built. Now, we do voter list maintenance every single day. We do things like check obituaries from all of Arizona. We take reports from the USPS, like the National Change of Address forms. We check the interstate mover list such that we can know if you've moved and re-registered and voted in a different state. We also do things like check statistics from the Arizona Department of Vital Statistics to see who has deceased. But we could use your help, and that's why we're encouraging everyone right now to go to beballotready.vote. That's beballotready.vote. There you can check your voter registration information, you can amend your voter registration information, you can sign up for alerts, and you can just generally make sure that you are ready for the 2024 election season. Again, that website is beballotready.vote. Appreciate your help. Hey Maricopa County, this is Stephen Richer, your county recorder. Today we're talking about voter list maintenance. Voter list maintenance is so important because the voter registration rolls are the foundation upon which a good election is built. Now, we do voter list maintenance every single day. We do things like check obituaries from all of Arizona. We take reports from the USPS, like the National Change of Address forms. We check the interstate mover list such that we can know if you've moved and re-registered and voted in a different state. We also do things like check statistics from the Arizona Department of Vital Statistics to see who has deceased. But we could use your help, and that's why we're encouraging everyone right now to go to beballotready.vote. That's beballotready.vote. There you can check your voter registration information, you can amend your voter registration information, you can sign up for alerts, and you can just generally make sure that you are ready for the 2024 election season. Again, that website is beballotready.vote. Appreciate your help.
Hey Maricopa County, this is Stephen Richer, your county recorder. Today we're talking about voter list maintenance. Voter list maintenance is so important because the voter registration rolls are the foundation upon which a good election is built. Now, we do voter list maintenance every single day. We do things like check obituaries from all of Arizona. We take reports from the USPS, like the National Change of Address forms. We check the interstate mover list such that we can know if you've moved and re-registered and voted in a different state. We also do things like check statistics from the Arizona Department of Vital Statistics to see who has deceased. But we could use your help, and that's why we're encouraging everyone right now to go to beballotready.vote. That's beballotready.vote. There you can check your voter registration information, you can amend your voter registration information, you can sign up for alerts, and you can just generally make sure that you are ready for the 2024 election season. Again, that website is beballotready.vote. Appreciate your help.